Make sure that you know what you're doing. It's better to learn at someone else's expense. If you're going to set up some business, it's quite good if you can actually be in someone else's business of that sort initially. In other words, have an apprenticeship of some sort. Do not be a high risk taker. The history shows that on the whole, the most successful entrepreneurs have been low to medium risk takers. There's nothing wrong in failing as long as you can pick yourself up and move forward. One of the most profitable ideas I had when I was about 12 years of age, and I found that I could buy Fleer's double bubble gum, and I could get them for one halfpenny, that's an old penny, and I could sell them to my friends at school for a penny. So I was making 100% profit. And you know, I was embarrassed about it. I was an embarrassed entrepreneur, because it didn't seem right that I was taking advantage of people. But of course, others could have found a way of buying the bubble gum. But I made quite a bit of money out of that. You do need an idea, obviously. And I used to say in later years, when people would suggest that the only reason they didn't become entrepreneurs was because they couldn't get a good idea. And that used to stagger me, because I could walk down a street and I could think of so many different things that could be done. When I actually retired from my mainstream in the main business, that Entrepreneurial Arms, which I helped to build to be one of the 2 or 3 largest electronic security companies in the United Kingdom, I retired at the age of 42. I was a millionaire. The number of opportunities that came my way, in fact, I chose in the end to go with software, with educational software, which seemed to me to be the future. And at that time, it definitely was. But nobody was making money out of it. And indeed, I then proceeded for the next 10 years or so to produce some very good educational software that was used all over the world, but we made no money. I mean, as my wife said to me on more than one occasion, she said, all we need to do to be a little better off financially, darling, is to close the business down. And I just wouldn't do it. And I think that's one of the lessons I think you have to learn, is that if your idea is not working out as planned and you can't find an alternative path that might become profitable, you have to bite the bullet and say, enough is enough. My father started the Entrepreneurial Arms in 1945. I did join the company, and I spent a couple of years in the labs doing design and development work. After 2 years, I thought, I want to be in the moment. I can't stand working with my old man all the time. You know, this happens a lot. And over the next 10 years or so, I worked in insurance and financial planning and mortgages, this kind of thing. And amongst other things, built up several Halifax agencies, Halifax Building Society agencies, Halifax at that time being the biggest building society, I think, in the world, and operated them in a way that no one else had operated them before, so that we ended up being one of the 6 most productive Halifax agencies in the United Kingdom, and by far the most productive in Scotland. I'd proven that I could stand on my own 2 feet. That was the time to say, let's see if we can do something together, Dad. And he was absolutely thrilled, because he'd written me off after all that length of time. His assets were all basically locked up in the business, and it wasn't liquid. It was profitable, and it was doing okay. My fear was that I would damage their value, their assets, by running the business badly. I had no experience of being the guy in charge. My father kept everything very close to his chest, and he was very good at it. He was a good engineer, and he was a good manager. But anyway, I said to him one day, almost as a joke, I said, if I can get £1 million for your share of the business, Dad, will you sell it? Within 6 months, I had a deal to get a little over £2 million. Naturally, he changed his mind. And I said, come on, Dad, you gave me your word, and I've been talking to people in good faith. He said, okay. And eventually that went through. So we sold 80% of the business for just under £2 million. Everyone is unique. You know, they really are. It's not any one thing that you do. It's just a combination of things. It might be your personality, it might be the way you handle your staff, it might be the way you interact with your customers. It's perhaps going the extra mile. I think there are several things you have to watch. Watch your health, you know, don't just take it for granted. And the second thing is to make sure that you know what you're doing. It's better to learn at someone else's expense. In other words, have an apprenticeship of some sort, if possible. My view is, do not be a high risk taker. The history shows that on the whole, the most successful entrepreneurs have been low to medium risk takers, not high risk takers. Be realistic in that sense. If you talk to the vast majority of successful entrepreneurs, they will tell you that they're not big risk takers. Don't put all your money on the one horse, as it were.